Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In this demonstration, I'll be demonstrating hands-on how to test whether a number is prime or not. Second, how to generate a series of prime numbers. Okay. Now, you have already studied C programming, C++ programming. You must be knowing the logic of program on prime numbers. And second, prime number series. Now, let me comment this part. Here, last time I wrote a program using Notepad simply without any editor. Now this time, just to make my job simpler and also highlight the syntax related with this program, syntactical elements, I'm using an editor. There's one free editor that is called BlueJ. You can download it and use it. But again, I recommend using Notepad just to get acquainted with the syntax so that whenever there's a syntax error, you will remember the mistakes when you compile a program without an editor. So to learn code Java, go on with Notepad only, because I'm demonstrating this video, so I thought it would be better to use editor. Otherwise I would not have. Last time we didn't. So the procedure to compile the program for you will be the same. That is, we'll be invoking the Java compiler using javac, and then file name.java, and then you'll running the Java program using Java keyword and the file name only without extension at the command line that I have demonstrated in the last lecture. Now, why we need to, we have a class here. First of all, the name of the class is prime. Okay. As a general rule, the name of the class and file name will be same. That means the file name will be prime.java. Exceptions will move into that part. Now, what we do, we import a package. Package is nothing. We have some built-in packages, built-in classes, collection of classes in Java. The code, source code is, the functions in that class are available to you. You can call those functions without reinventing the wheel. Now, one such class is scanner class that is included in java.util package, java.util.scanner. You have to import it. Why? For inputting the data from the user using keyboard. Scanner class. Now the name of the class is prime, public class prime. Now see here, there's one function. One function is prime. The name of the function is prime. It takes an argument n number and gives output, returns true or false. If the number is true, it returns true, otherwise it returns false. Return type is Boolean. There is a type in Java that is Boolean, like integer, but in Boolean it is true or false only, 0 and 1. Now, the function is a static function. Why static? Because actually Java is an object-oriented programming language. So you are expected to create classes and then instantiate or create objects of that class type. So object 1 will be prime number 1, prime 2, so on. But learn the core Java syntax, and sometimes you it won't be relevant to create objects of the class. For example, in this case, prime. What is the fun of creating an object of class prime? I don't see anything in it. Yes, if it had been a class student, then I would create objects like student 1 has its own data, roll number, name, etc. And student 2 has its own copy of data. Then it makes sense to create objects. So we'll be studying the object-oriented programming concepts in Java, as I already told you in the later part of this course. For now, we'll be studying core Java concepts. To understand the core Java syntax, we don't need to create objects of classes. So if you are working in such an environment, then you'll be creating functions using this keyword static. Static means you don't need to instantiate. It's a class level function. Class level without objects, independent of objects. It's a public, scope is public, static, and I told you why we need static, because we are not interested in creating objects. Static Boolean return type is Boolean, and name of the function is prime, and it takes an argument n. Then the logic. Now, when we call it, we know that number 1, if we pass 1 is not a prime number, it should give us this result false. If we pass 2, these are some exceptional cases, it should again return true, because 2 is the smallest prime number. Now, 2 onwards, we will be needing this logic. This for loop will help us to determine whether a given number is prime or not. Loop starts from 2, I less or equal to n. N, for example, is 13, I plus plus, n minus 1. So we'll going on, continue dividing the given number successfully by starting from 2 up to 12, n minus 1. If the remainder is 0, that means the number is divisible by some other number. That means it is not prime. Will return false. We'll set this flag to false. Once we have this condition true, we do not need to recheck. We verify further. We'll stop the looping there only. Once it returns false, we'll exit from the loop, break statement. Now, if the number is 13, starting from 2, 13 divided by I is 2, modulus is remainder operator. Is it 0? No, 13 is not exactly divisible by 2. So this logic will not be executed. 13 divided by 3, again, not divisible. 13 divided by 4, 5, 6, up to 12. This condition doesn't get executed for prime numbers. But for non-prime numbers, it will get executed. Now, in our case, now for 13 number, it will return flag. Flag we have already set to true. So that means 13 is a prime number. If the number is suppose 4 or 5 or 6, 4 for example. Is it 1? No. Is it 2? No. Starting from 2. Until what? 3, n minus 1. Because if we do 4 divided by 4, it will return 0 and all the logic will break. 4 divided by 2. Yes, 4 is divisible by 2. Flag is equal to false. Break. We don't need to check 3. Next number. So even the number is divisible by only one number. Okay. X for itself and 1. Then it is a prime. That's not a prime number. So we'll break the for loop. It breaks the for loop. We get out of the for loop and return this flag. Flag in this case is false. That means it returns false. Our function has a return type Boolean, that is it returns false or true. So in case of 4, it will return false. 4 is not a number. Prime this what number. This is about how to check whether a given number is prime or not. You have studied in C programming language already how to determine whether a given number is prime or not. Very simple logic. And when we use functions, it becomes more simple. Now see, there is one more function. Static, it doesn't return any type. Number prime series, it generates. What does this prime series do? It takes two inputs. Number 1, for example, 1. Number 2, for example, 100. 1 to 100. It displays the list of prime numbers between 1 and 100. Okay. Doesn't return anything, and it displays list of prime numbers between n1 and n2. Now, how it works? Again, we'll need to call the same function, is prime. This function will be called. From this function, we'll be passing this number j. J will start from n1 and up to n2. We'll be passing this function each time a new number in this range. Range is, for example, 1 to 100. 1 to 100. In this range, we'll pass this function every time a new number starting from n1 up to n2. Now it will return us is prime, will return a boolean true or false. If it returns true, then we'll print this number. Otherwise, we will not print. So generating prime number series is a very simple thing. You just need to envelop your function is prime function in a loop, and that loop starts with lower end and up to upper end. For example, 1 to 500, 1 to 100. Now, if this is prime, first we pass j. J starts from n1, goes up to n2. Every time we pass one by one these numbers. If it returns 2, then we'll print the number. So again, as in C, if we have an if statement, only one statement inside if, we do not need to enclose it within braces. Okay. So the syntax is familiar like C, C++. Basic core concepts are same as I last time told you. Now we have our main function. Again, the main function is static, void main. We don't want to return anything. It can be in main and C, then we'll return 0. Okay. Now, static function, I told you, we don't need to create objects. It's a class level function without irrespective of any objects. And we are not interested in creating some. When we are not interested in creating objects, okay, we have some core Java concepts. You try it, is better. It is whenever we want to write non-OOP programs, it is better to go with these functions. Yes, generally. Now, once we end up learning these core Java concepts of loops, arrays, etc., then we'll be implementing these things in object-oriented programming. Like we will have a class of students, then we will create different objects, student 1, student 2, and so on. We'll study inheritance, how to reuse objects. We'll study polymorphism, function overriding, and constructors. We construct various object-oriented programming concepts. But for now, to learn core Java, we don't need to create objects. Now, main function, public static void main, and it has this argument, command line argument. Last lecture I told you, string args, command line. In this video demonstration, I won't be taking input from command line. I'll be taking input from, of course, from keyboard, but not from command line. Last time I told you, take input from command line. When you compile the program, there you pass one argument. When you run the program, you pass one argument as command line argument. If you want this, you can, there is an array of strings, you can access that array of strings. But the better way to take input from the user is to use scanner class. The better way to take input of any type, integer, float, double, string from the user is to create an object of scanner class. So again, we have scanner class. We'll create an object of this class. How to create objects in Java? Data type class name scanner, object name s is equal to new keyword scanner, and you have to pass here in the argument system.in. Okay, we'll be studying objects and classes later part of this course, but for now just remember that here we are using a scanner class, an object of scanner class. Then what do we have to do? Okay, let me uncomment this part. In C also we comment the code like this, uncommenting this. Okay, next few lines are again commented, because first time I will be checking this program from whether it's a prime or number. Okay, scanner class system.out.print, enter a number. Okay, print, enter a number. Print function. Again, now see the analogy. Here we have a class out system namespace or package. We have this function, print function we are calling. Okay, but we are not creating any object of this out class. No, so that means this print function will be static function. System, no, every time we need to print, enter a number, we'll be creating print objects. So they have make it simple. So you use what? You simply call it without instantiating, without creating an object of it. Now s, this object, scanner object, dot next int, that means number. You are entering a number from the keyboard. When you call this second time as dot next int, it will help you to get a new input from the keyboard. Integer, because our type is integer. We are setting it to number integer. Okay. Then what we need to do, we'll call this function is prime function, pass it, suppose 13, and this code will be executed. This function will be called is prime 13, and it will be tested. This for loop will be executed, and it will return whether 13 is prime or not. Number is prime if the result is, if it returns true. If it returns false, the number is not prime. Let us compile. So again, I'm telling you, you will compile your programs in the same way I demonstrated in the last lecture. Let's use invoking the Java compile using Java, share the command line, then running the program using Java keyboard and name of the file. But I'll be compiling it for this editor. Sorry. Okay. Because I haven't changed any code, compile. Now, to run it, I'll right click it. I'll run this main function. Okay. I am not passing any string command line arguments. If I want to pass, I will write here those command line arguments. For suppose, because I am not passing any command line argument, I will take input from the keyboard. Scanner function. Okay, enter a number. Here it is. Suppose 13. 13 number is prime. Yes, it is. We all know it. Now, to execute the second part of this code, yes, I'm commenting this part here. From here, okay, uncomment this one, prime series. Again, if you remember, we need to pass two numbers in this range, first number and last number. Then our program will display the list of prime numbers between the two ranges, first and last number. Let's run that one. Compile, no syntax errors, and run. Right click, We are using BlueJ editor. Main function we want to execute without passing any command line arguments. Okay, input scanner. First, I will give 1. Next input, I am giving 50. It will display me list of prime numbers between 1 and 50, any range. So 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47 are the prime numbers between these two ranges, 1 and 50. So thank you. Please do submit your assignments in Google Classroom. I have some assignments for you there. Okay, bye. See you in the next lecture.